Great. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for our third engineering speaker series. My name is Alika. I'm currently in my second year of biomedical engineering, and I'm your co-director for the fall term engineering speaker series.
And hey guys, it's Helen, and I'm also a co-director for this term speaker series, and I'm now into a software engineering.
So a few notes before we start. We kindly ask everyone to keep their mics muted and videos turned off during the entire presentation. Please keep all questions for the end, and at the end we will be taking questions from the chat box, or you can unmute yourself.
So today we're honored to have our guest speaker here with us, Erin Ransom. So as a longtime employee of BlackBerry, Erin has witnessed the meteoric rise of BlackBerry, the fallout, and ultimately the rebuilding of the company into a software and service business. As the company pivoted, she worked as a global leader in business and sales operations, restructuring business process and sales systems, and supporting the sales organization through several acquisitions. Erin has an undergrad degree from University of Waterloo and an MBA from Wilfrid Laurier University. And today she's the Vice President of Sales Enablement. So I'll pass the virtual mic to Erin. The stage is yours.
Great. Thank you, Helen. Thanks for having me here today. So I thought I'd start off and talk to you a little bit more. I'll give you a bit of background on myself and then talk to you about my perspective on leadership. So as Helen mentioned, I am a graduate from the University of Waterloo. My undergraduate degree was in sciences, and then I have an MBA from Laurier as well. In addition to being a vice president of sales enablement at BlackBerry, I've also led teams in marketing, product marketing, business systems, and operations. At work, I'm known for tackling difficult problems and leading high-performance teams. I love data and business insights. Last year, I was asked by Salesforce to join their Analytics Champions program, which has been wonderful. I was also nominated for 2 awards last year for Women in IT in Canada. And at BlackBerry, over my time there, I've been given 7-star awards and a special scarf presented to me by our CEO, John Chen. And as a longtime employee at BlackBerry, the company has changed immensely over that period of time. And I don't really know of any other company that has done that transition from being a hardware company to a software company. And for me, having been a part of that change and worked through that, that experience for me has been extremely rewarding. And then on the home front, I have 3 boys. They're ages 6, 8, and 10. Our house can be a little bit chaotic at times. We love to rock climb. We do this as a family. I'm also an avid mountain biker, and I love to read as well. So leadership, what is leadership? I sometimes feel that, people just like to think of all the good words that they can think of when they're talking about leadership. There must be 100 words, maybe 1,000, maybe 10,000 words to describe what leadership is. And then if you go online, you often see these sorts of images where they like to just smush them all together. And the books, there are tons of books on leadership. And I love to read, but it's been a long time since I've read a business book. So my perspective on leadership is that everyone is different. We each have unique strengths and weaknesses. We have a unique set of perspectives and experiences, and everyone has their own style of leadership. My style won't be the same as yours. It won't be the same as my boss, and it isn't the same as my CEO, and that's okay. If you want to be a great leader, focus on what you want to become, what you stand for, and your values. Leadership doesn't happen overnight, and it isn't an end state. And I think Michelle Obama had it right when she talks about this idea of becoming and continuing to evolve. I am a different leader than when I first started at BlackBerry. I am a different leader than when I first started managing people, and I'm still working on the leader that I want to become. So I thought rather than talk about all the different approaches to leadership or the different theories on it, I thought what I would do today is share with you what's important to me as a leader. And my hope is that it inspires you, or it lets you think a little bit about the type of leader that you want to be. And leadership isn't the same as people management. So don't think that you have to be a people manager to be a leader. Leadership is something different. So for me, as a woman who works in the tech industry and a woman in leadership, it's incredibly important for me to be a great leader so that the next generation of women know that they can too. Role models are very important for women, and I feel that we're at a very pivotal time in terms of all issues of equality. And I believe that by being a great leader, I can help move that needle forward. So for me, I don't want there to be a glass ceiling for our young girls or for women in tech to feel that they don't belong. So on days when I struggle, I often come back to this idea, and it's one of my key motivators. I also believe in the power of the team, and I believe in being courageous and leading by example. Leadership can be hard at times. Talking about your vision, standing up for what you believe, making tough decisions, and having others judge you isn't always a comfortable place to be. And having a voice takes courage. High-performing teams are better than high-performing individuals. So although I don't like to read business books, I do like to read about US Navy SEALs and other elite military teams. And it was probably a month, maybe 2 months ago on LinkedIn, I saw where someone was talking about US Navy SEAL teams and how they don't always pick the strongest SEAL, the fastest SEAL, or the best shooter to be on their team. Consistently, those teams would rather have someone who is a little bit weaker or a little bit slower, but is someone who they trust and works as part of the team. Which, when you think about it from a military sense, makes complete sense, as you certainly don't want a team member who runs away when things get tough. That could be a life or death situation for those teams. But I also feel the same way about teams at work. I would rather have someone on my team with a bit less ability or a bit less experience, but who has the team's back, who's going to work with the team to solve problems, pitch in when needed, someone who is trusted by the team. And over my time at BlackBerry, I have led several complex projects with extremely tight timelines. And when the pressure is on, you need a high-performing team that works together. There's no room for individuals, no matter how smart, if they can't work with the team. And in the best case scenario, you have very high-performing individuals who are also amazing team players. I also spend a lot of time thinking about my strengths and weaknesses, as well as my team's strengths and weaknesses. And I encourage my team to do the same, to get to know people, think about where they excel, think about where you can help someone else in an area that's less comfortable for them. And what this does is it creates an environment where the team starts to rely on the team. And this is one characteristic of a high-performing team. So as you start your careers or gain experience through the co-op program, I would encourage you to think about your strengths and weaknesses and how they relate to the people that you work with. Where can you add value? Where can they help you? When you are part of a team, you should be interacting with your team members, getting to know them, offering a hand when they need it. If you're only communicating with your manager, then both of you are missing out on an opportunity. And it's okay to ask questions when you don't know things. And it's also okay to say to a teammate, I'm not sure how I can help you, but let me know if you need anything. And that's a great way to start to build that trust and those interactions with the team. So last year, I had the opportunity to go to the Salesforce conference down in San Francisco, which in these times of COVID now seems like a very strange thing to do. But when I was there, I had this opportunity to see Barack Obama speak. And Mark Benioff, the CEO of Salesforce, he asked Barack what advice he gives his daughters to be successful. And his daughters are of university age as well. And I loved how simple his answer was. He said he tells them to be kind and be useful. And I think, an old school way of looking at business was to be focused on just the useful part. But I believe that both are important and that people want to work for leaders and for teams and for organizations that align to their values. So my advice to you is focus on what you want to become, really think about what you stand for and your values, and then be courageous. Use your voice, tell others about it. And what you'll find is that when you do this, it's like sending up a beacon or putting up a Batman signal in the sky, and other people will want to be a part of it. All right, so that was what I had for today. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope that it helps you to think about the type of leader that you want to be.
Thank you so much for your presentation. It was really inspiring and very interesting on how to become a great leader. So thank you so much. So now we will be taking questions, if anyone has any questions.
Okay, so in the chat box from Ariel, so what are some challenges that women can face when entering the tech industry, and how can we tackle them?
Yeah, it's gotten a lot better. It's different than it was 10 years ago, but there is still, some people call it a microaggression. I think of it more as an undercurrent. You still feel like it's a lot of men. And as a woman, make sure that you have a voice. Make sure that if you're in a meeting, speak up in the first 5 minutes. And don't let people speak over you. I think we saw during the vice president debates down in the United States, right? We saw that interrupting, right? And she had a great way of just saying, like, I'm speaking. Yeah, I think you really just have to be courageous. You have to use your voice, and it's definitely better than it was, but there is still that undercurrent. And I think it's important for women in tech to be great leaders, whether you're a people manager or not. I think use your voice, be courageous, and just be a leader.
I think I have a question.
Yeah.
So you mentioned that like leadership can sometimes be hard. So what are some like challenges or even just everyday challenges that you face in your profession or just in general?
Yeah, so my current position, Vice President of Sales Enablement, I am only a few weeks into that job. And one of the challenges I'm finding right now is time. I'm getting to know a new team. I'm transitioning my old responsibilities over to another director. And, there's this challenge of, you've got the hamster on the wheel and you're like, you got to keep the day-to-day going, but then you also have to get off the wheel and keep the wheel moving so that you can move on to really thinking about the strategy and starting to move the big blocks and put them in place. And I have found throughout my career that as I'm leading teams, you have to have the day-to-day that's running and moving forward. But as a leader, you also always have to be thinking 3 months, 6 months, 1 year down the road. What is my roadmap? And what are the things that I also need to have happening right now so that in 6 months, we're in a position to go live, to move to the next project, because you'll find that it's very easy to get caught up on that hamster wheel, just trying to stay afloat. So for me, that's one of the challenges I've had, running systems and operations. So I had a team under me, but I also worked very closely with our architects and development teams. And some of those projects, I mean, there probably would have been 50 to 100 people. And, you know, again, it's like making sure that everybody knows the role that they're playing, and that you understand what the pieces are doing, but at the same time, you have to let them do it so that you can be leading and managing. Yeah, so anyways, those are a couple of the examples of what I found.
Yep, thank you.
There's another question. Has COVID changed your style of leadership and your roadmap?
Yeah, so when COVID hit, we were in the middle of integrating our CRM system with the latest acquisition. So we acquired Cylance probably, I guess it's been 1.5 years, maybe 2 years. And in March, the teams all came together, and in April, we consolidated systems. And in addition to moving over the Salesforce, so we moved over the marketing automation, the CRM, and then there's like another 25 applications that hang off of that. And so when COVID hit, we would usually on these big projects, we would get a big war room. Everybody moves their computers in, and we would work, like for go live, we would work together in that room, problem solving, like real time. So with COVID, yeah, it was, I was nervous that like we didn't have the whiteboards. You know, I didn't have like certain people sitting right next to me where I could be like, hey, Adam, like I'm running into an issue here. Can you take a look? So yeah, I mean, it definitely changed how we worked. In a way, I think our people who weren't in the office with us, it actually made them, I think they found that style hard to follow along with. So I think for them, it was actually good. And then, yeah, we do a lot of, we use Skype at work. So there was a lot of like, you know, I can remember the one day Chris, like, he was like, hey, if you got a minute, I'm like, sure. He's like, I've got a problem. Okay, we'll turn this Skype message into like a quick call, right? And then it's like, okay, now we need Andrea to weigh in on, you know, she's like product master. Okay, bring her in. Okay, great. Now we're gonna like, we have a plan. Chris, you go work with the architect. So yeah, I mean, it's definitely changed it, but I also feel like it's been okay, right? It's different, but it's okay. And I do think at BlackBerry, not everybody is video all the time, but we're always video when it's team meetings, certain things. We make sure that we are always videos just to have that little bit more of connection, because I think for some people, especially not, you know, not walking past somebody's desk every morning and saying good morning is like you start to feel that little bit of disconnect. So yeah, making sure that video is on, I think, has helped us too with COVID.
Great, thanks. Oh, Helen, you're muted.
Wait, yeah, I'm just sending in the chat box because I didn't want to forget. But like, do you have any advice for students who are trying to prepare for either co-op or graduation, the job searching process? This is really relevant.
Yeah, I mean, from a hiring perspective, you know, make your resume really easy to read. Don't assume that the person who's reading it is going to read every sentence. You know, make it very simple, easy to read. You know, if you can make it stand out, I think that helps. because there are a lot of resumes, and often it's an HR department who's going through the first round. So for me, for example, I've got two director roles that I'm backfilling, and yeah, HR does the first scan of all the resumes, and then they just send me a short list, right? And then they say, okay, which of these shortlist, Erin, do you want to pre-screen? So what I look at is like 10 to 15, but there's probably like 50 resumes that have come into HR, right? So I would really, like, on your resume for each job, I know it's a lot of work, but I would tailor it, put in keywords from the listing, because the HR person, they might not even know the job that well, but they'll be looking for those keywords. So put them in. And then, yeah, when you get to the interview, be prepared, right? Have done your work, think about the questions they're going to ask you, think about, you know, your selling points, your positioning, and have some good, thoughtful questions for them as well. But yeah, and then I think, you know, in the interview, just, you know, I know everybody gets nervous sometimes. You know, to practice at home helps, but just be yourself. Know your value, you know, really think about what you're good at, how that fits for the role, and you know, don't be afraid in an interview to communicate that value, right? And I think sometimes for women, you know, we're taught growing up not to brag. It's hard for us to say, I am really good at something, right? Like I would always say the team is really good. It's hard. So, you know, I think for anyone, but I think for women especially in that interview, like, don't be afraid to tell them what you're good at. And then, hopefully it's a fit and it works out. And when you start, you know, I would go back to that Barack Obama advice of, you know, when you're there on the job, like, be kind and be useful. And I think he's exactly right. But if you do those things, that is going to take you a long ways.
Yeah, I mean, I did my last co-op at BlackBerry. That was also my first co-op. So I was really scared about like going to workplace, doing my first co-op, working professionally. It was just so traumatizing. I was like, people are gonna be scary. If I don't know anything, people are gonna scream at me. But no, it was actually like just not just people on my team, like just the BlackBerry team in general. It was just everyone was so nice, everyone was so welcoming, and yeah, it taught me a lot. So
yeah, and we've all been there. Anyone that you're working with, I mean, you know, we all started at some point and know what that was like. And I think, yeah, don't be afraid to ask questions, and don't be afraid to offer to help out, even if you're not sure how to help out, because I think even just offering speaks to an attitude of wanting to be helpful and part of the team. And even if, you know, that person or your manager doesn't have something right then, who knows, 2 weeks later, there might be something else that comes up, and then they're like, oh, right, Helen offered to help. Great, this would be a good opportunity for her to learn, and it's a great opportunity, you know, for me to take something that's on the plate and hand it off to somebody, right? Yeah.
all right, thank you. Looks like we don't have any more questions. So last call for questions. But yeah, I'll drop the link in the. Oh yeah, Erin, if you could also just because with the PowerPoint, I don't think students, especially students who are watching the video, they won't have access to your LinkedIn link. So if you could just drop it in the chat box.
Sure. Yep. Yep. That's fine here. I can grab it from here or not.
That'd be great.
And for the students, if you can take a few minutes to fill out our survey and give us feedback for our speaker series, that would be great. The link is in the chat box. Also, we have another speaker next week, so stay tuned for that. But again, thank you so much for coming in today and giving this great presentation. It was really inspiring, and we hope to have you come back sometime in the future.
Perfect. Thanks for having me, and I hope you enjoyed it. And I hope it helps you as you go forward. So have a great day.
Thanks.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
All right.